Hey guys, welcome. It's 6 o'clock here in Rotterdam. My name's Liz. Welcome to Yogaground. If you're scrolling past, stop. We're going to do about 45 minutes of restorative yoga now with a nice long shavasana. And this is the kind of rest we need. This is the rest we need that we don't often take. So take this 45 minutes now to really find rest. So I'm just going to let you know that for today's practice, we're going to need a blanket. But we're going to do something that's sort of a guided rest, a guided long shavasana at the end of this practice for about 20 minutes. So you might want more than just one blanket. I recommend putting on a jumper or a sweater. You're welcome to wear socks. When we relax, the body cools down. So you want to make sure that you're nice and cozy, nice and warm. You might want extra blankets. But for the restorative portion of the class, we're only going to need one blanket. So I'll give you a moment to grab your props. And while you're grabbing your props, I'm just going to mention that Yogaground is launching outdoor classes as of this week. And so reactivate your class plan. I'm teaching tomorrow at 11 o'clock. I am so excited to see you guys. So watch out social media and on our website to see announcements and check your app. And there's going to be more and more classes announced as we go on. Okay, let's begin. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Yogaground. My name's Liz, and this is going to be a 45-minute or about a 40-minute restorative yoga practice. This is a very simple at-home restorative yoga practice, and the only real prop that you need is a single blanket. So your blanket might look a bit different from my blanket. I've got mine folded so that it's about, I don't know, maybe 20 centimeters or so wide and nice and long. So if you get a blanket in more or less this shape, it's going to do you well. Your blanket might be a lot bigger. It could be a bit thinner. It doesn't really matter. So whatever blanket you have, know it's the blanket that you're meant to have. We're going to practice samtosha of blanket here and be content with the blanket we have. Because in restorative yoga, we're looking to rest and not be too stimulated, I'm going to show you the poses right now. And then during the actual practice, if if I'm cueing you and saying, okay, we're going into pose 2, do it this way, and you think, I forget what that looks like, then you can always look at the screen and I'll be showing it again. But we'll go through these poses now so that when we move through the sequence, they feel a little familiar. So just as you gather your and fold your blanket, you can have a look. I'm going to take you through all of the poses that we're going to do. They're nice and simple. And then maybe you'll remember them as we go. And again, if you forget them, you can always look back at the screen. So you've got some options. The first pose we're going to do is constructive rest. And so if you come to my classes here at Yogaground in Rotterdam, you're going to know this is one of my favorite poses. It just puts the spine in a nice neutral position so that we can relax. The hips are nice and heavy on the floor, and our feet are approximately hip distance apart. And then we're going to place our blankets onto our bellies. We're going to keep coming back to this pose today, hands resting on the belly. So this is going to be our first pose, but I'm going to move on and show you all of our poses today. You don't have to memorize them. I'll be showing them again as we go through. But we'll start here, and then we're going to use our blanket in the same shape to cover the eyes and maybe even create a little pillow for the head. So we'll be somewhere like here. And then from here, we'll use this same blanket again to come into a restorative psoas release, or just a very gentle restorative bridge pose with the hips on top of the blanket so those heavy hip bones can rest down on the blanket. And you'll be able to choose a hand position. And then our final pose is going to be a twist, where we use our blanket to support between the calves, feet, and knees. So you'll be in a pose something like this. So this is about as complicated as this practice gets. This is simple yoga because life is complicated enough. So we just are going to use our one prop today to create these simple poses to allow the body and the mind to relax. So if you're ready, we're going to begin. Please fold your blanket so it looks more or less like this. It doesn't have to be exactly the same style of blanket or exactly the same fold. We are practicing samtosha of blanket, contentment with the blanket we have. And then we're going to come down into constructive rest. And so you place your blanket just over the very lower belly and allow your hands maybe to rest on top of the blanket. Move your spine and hips around, have a little roll right and left, and just see if you can get nice and even and heavy on the back of the sacrum. Tuck in the chin and lengthen the back of the head a little away from your shoulders. Move your shoulders slightly down the back, and then choose a foot position that allows you to completely relax the thighs. Now, if you feel that by holding the knees apart, you're using your leg muscles, please make you wider. We're looking for a position of comfort here where we don't have to worry about sensations in the physical body, so that we can softly close the eyes and feel sensations of the breath. And so please soften the face. Soften the tongue inside your mouth and let it fall down to the floor of the mouth. And then let your shoulders sink heavy towards the floor. Often when we come to lie down, what we realize inside the body is there's this little resistance, like you don't quite trust the floor to hold you. So can you sink your heavy bones down into the floor? Notice the heavy hip bones and make any adjustments to the bones that you need to make to become more comfortable. Notice the feeling of the feet on the floor. And then relax and find comfort in the hands and fingers. Begin to softly direct your breath into the lower belly, so that every time you breathe in, the lower belly lifts. And it lifts the blanket with it. And every time you breathe out, the lower belly drops. Every time you breathe in, the belly rises. And every time you breathe out, the belly drops. And so notice how the body feels. Notice how the body feels here, just to release its own weight down into the floor. As you relax into the breath, you might feel almost like a wave sensation as the breath rolls down into the lower belly and the belly rises. And on the exhale, the breath just rolls out like a wave and the belly drops. So that your belly ends up moving up and down like those wave swells in the center of the ocean. Let's take 2 or 3 more breaths here. And as you watch the breath, you might notice that your exhales are slowly getting longer. And then please reach down for your blanket. And we're going to take our blankets up over the face and use the blanket as like a giant eye pillow. So rest it over the forehead. There's not going to be any weight on the actual eyelids. And then lift your head, tuck in the chin, and it's possible that your blanket will wrap around your head like a little head bandage, so that when you drop the head back down, your blanket becomes both an eye pillow, but also a head pillow. And then I'll ask you to please take the arms maybe out to the side if that feels good. Or they might continue to rest on the belly. If you're curious about what I'm talking about, you want to have a little look at the screen, I am demonstrating the pose now. And let the back of your head sink into your pillow, the softness of the blanket under the head. And let the whole body release downwards. Let the eyeballs soften underneath the softly closed eyelids. And feel the eyeballs sink and drop wide in the eye sockets. Think of the space behind and underneath the eyeballs, the muscles that help you look with the eyes, and relax those muscles behind the eyes. So that the whole eye can rest and sink. And in yoga, this is pratyahara, the inward drawing of the senses. So that as you block out the light from your own eyes, you're allowing yourself to turn your gaze inwards, a soft internal gaze down into the center of the brain. I'd like you to take a deep breath in now, please, to the lower belly, in through the nose. And a nice long, slow exhale out through gently parted lips. We're going to take this 5 times. We inhale long, slow, and deep through the nose. Lower belly rises. And then let the lips just gently part and very slowly, it's like this creamy exhale comes out through gently parted lips. And as that breath leaves your lips, can you feel your body sink down into the floor, into that darkness that you've created for yourself, safety? And so take this breath just 2 or 3 more times in your own pace. We inhale gently through the nose into the lower belly. The belly rises. And then we exhale slowly out through gently parted lips. It's like the breath becomes a thin ribbon that leaves our lips as the body sinks deeper into rest. One more round. Then seal the lips. And take a few gentle, natural breaths here, in and out through the nose. And every time you breathe out, you release tension. You allow the body to rest. From here, please gently lift the head, remove your folded blanket from underneath the head, and then place the blanket back down onto the lower belly so we find ourselves back in our constructive rest. Allow the shoulder blades to sink back down into the floor after that little bit of movement. the throat to stay soft, tongue soft in the mouth. And notice now how there's this little bit of light, maybe a little bit of color, dancing across your closed eyelids now that the blanket has been removed from the eyes. We're going to transition now into our restorative bridge pose, a little psoas and hip release. We push down to the feet, we lift the hips just a few centimeters up off the floor, and we slide our blanket underneath the back of the hips. Let the heavy back of the hips sink back down onto the softness of your blanket. And then take your arms a little wider. At this point, they might even be up in line with the shoulders. If it's comfortable, you might move the shoulder blades slightly together and down the back. And this is going to give you a little openness across the front of the chest. And this will help you breathe into the full lungs. You may even choose to bend the elbows and rest the back of the hands up overhead. And if you choose this arms up position, please note that the shoulder blades, the elbows, the back of the wrists, the back of the hands all rest comfortably on the floor. So there's no deep sensation here physically in the shoulders or in the arms. And if at any point your fingers go tingly, it's a sign to bring the arms back down. Let's find that soft abdominal breath where we inhale gently through the nose and the lower belly swells open like an ocean wave. And then we exhale, that warm air flows out of the nose and the bones sink heavy down into the floor and into the support of the blanket. If it's comfortable, allow your exhales to lengthen just one extra second. And you might start to notice there's natural pauses at the end of every exhale. And a natural pause at the end of every inhale here as you breathe. And you might find a little bit of quiet in the mind during these pauses. So that there is an inhale and a pause. And then an exhale. And that pause of rest. Anytime the mind wanders, bring it back just to the gentle rhythm of your breath. And now I'd like you to think about your right knee and your left knee, right thigh and left thigh, and then the heaviness of your thigh bones that are called the femur bones. And can you feel how heavy your big thigh bones are as they sink down towards the blanket, so that the top of the femur bones, the top of the thigh bones, are coming home and sinking in to the hip sockets. Your legs are in this perfect V shape where the knees might be slightly apart and then the legs come in and they join the hips in a V shape. And I'll ask you now to think of that V shape of the legs where the legs meet the rest of the body. And on your next exhale, can you relax and deepen that V shape where the legs meet towards the floor? So the V where your two thighs meet your hips that V deepens and sinks towards the floor. A deep release of the groin and of the pelvic floor. Let's take 2 or 3 more breaths here in this pose. And then slowly with a sense of curiosity for the little details of your movement, push your feet now a little into the floor and lift your hips just enough to take your blanket and to rest it back onto the lower belly in our constructive rest shape. And notice how the hips and how the body might feel a little different after this pose. So what is the effect? What is the residue of this pose? And now let's come into our final asana. It's an asymmetrical asana. So we do the right side and then we're going to do the left. So first, please push your feet into the floor, lift up the hips just a millimeter and slide the hips a few centimeters to the left. We're going to take the knees in close to the body and then roll over onto our right side. Place your blanket to support the feet, the ankles, the knees. And then open yourself up into a twist. Your legs might be approximately in a box shape. Some people will prefer to have the knees nice and close up to the armpits. Other people will have the knees quite far away from the body. Really listen to your instincts about what feels most comfortable. And then allow your left shoulder blade to sink into the floor and the arms to drop heavy into the floor away from you. Soften the fingers, the palms, and the armpits. And slowly turn your head to look over the left shoulder, if that feels comfortable. Allow your left thigh to deeply rest. The groins to rest. And the breath to move the lower belly even here. Let's just take about 3 to 5 more breaths here, soft and deep. Enjoying the feeling of the natural breath moving through the body. And then use your right hand to take the blanket, just hold it in. Even at the spine, because remember we just moved our hips slightly to the left, so get your spine nice and straight. We're back in our constructive rest. And then push down through the feet, lift the hips just a few millimeters, and shuffle the hips a little over to the right. We're going to drop the knees to the left side now. We take our blanket and place it between the legs, so that the blanket is supporting the feet, the calves, and the knees. And then we roll open into our second side of twist. Let the shoulder blades sink into the floor, the armpits softly open towards the ceiling. Fingertips and palms soft. Deeply rest the right thigh. And breathe into the soft lower belly. In this final asana of our restorative yoga practice, use that internal gaze, the eyes looking inwards, and look at the mouth and the tongue. Is there any tension that you could release? Look into the neck and the shoulders. Again, is is there anything that you could let go, that you didn't even notice you were holding on to? And then the groins, and the pelvic floor, and the lower belly. Space is deep in the hips. Is there anything that you could release in this moment? Let's take a few more soft breaths here. Then use your left hand to hold onto the blanket. We're going to slowly come back up and come back into that constructive rest shape. Place the hands, so place the blanket onto the lower belly just as we began. Feet hip distance apart, the knees might touch, the hands might choose to rest on the warmth of the blanket. And let the breath flow through the body. Sink your bones into the floor. And then please take the knees in towards the chest, so the thighs rest down on this blanket on the belly, and hug the knees gently in. We are preparing for a nice long shavasana here. And so the forehead, you might just reach it up towards the knees to give the spine a little rounding. And then slowly bring the back of the head back down onto the floor. Slide the legs on. Now it's possible that you are a very experienced Shavasana expert and you have collected pillows and blankets and you've got your favorite Shavasana. So please take your time and set up your nest for Shavasana. But if you're fairly new to this practice and you're practicing with your one blanket, then I think the most important support that you might need is a pillow for the head. But if you're feeling cold, you could use your blanket just as an old-fashioned blanket. Let the legs roll away from you. And then let the arms drop. So you're in this nice open starfish shape so the whole body can melt into the floor. If you're wondering what Shavasana looks like, I'm in Shavasana myself now. This is your last chance to see me in Shavasana because I'm going to sit up. But you're going to stay here in this position of rest. Please give your legs and your arms a little shake. And just see how it feels. Is there any tension that you could shake out right now and release deeply into the floor? And then just notice the whole body as it rests here on the floor. And are there any adjustments that you would like to make so that if I asked you to be still for the next 12 minutes, you would think, this is the position I want to be in. And so if there's any little adjustments that you need to make, even if you're 99% comfortable now, could you be 1% more comfortable? And allow your whole body to settle into stillness. And this is yoga, the process of moving into stillness. And here we are in stillness together. And then notice the back of the head as it rests down on your pillow or on the floor. And can you feel the back of your head almost spread and sink a little deeper into that support underneath you? And to help you rest even more deeply into this place of stillness, I'm going to guide you on a journey through the body. And there's nothing you need to do. This is a process of undoing, not doing. And so as I mention a body part, you use that internal gaze simply to look into that body part to see if you can sense it. And that's all you need to do. And so I'd like you to please relax the face and let the eyes sink wide into the eye sockets. Notice the movement of your natural breath and allow the body to rest in stillness. And then please become aware of the tongue inside your mouth. Notice the tip of the tongue, the sides of your tongue, the top of the tongue, and the bottom of your tongue as it rests in your mouth. The lips, the cheeks, the neck, and then that little indent at the bottom of your neck where the two collarbones meet, that soft valley where the clavicles meet. And then with that gentle gaze, an internal gaze, look down the right collarbone to the right shoulder, the right elbow, the right wrist, the palm of the right hand, the right thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and baby finger, and then the whole right hand. Notice the whole right hand, and the whole right arm as it rests here on the floor. The right shoulder, the right collarbone or clavicle bone, and then that little sweet indent where the two collarbones meet at the base of the neck. And then wander down with your mind's eye down the left collarbone, the left shoulder, the left elbow, the left wrist, the palm of the left hand, left thumb, left index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and little finger, the whole left hand. The whole left arm. The whole left arm as it rests in the floor. The left shoulder, along the left collarbone, and back to that sweet indent where the two collarbones meet. Travel down through the front of the rib cage, through the solar plexus, and all the way to the navel and the skin of the belly. The lower belly, and then the pubic bone where the two thighs meet. The right hip, right knee, right ankle, the sole of the right foot, right big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, and little toe. The whole right foot, the whole right leg as it rests on the floor. And back up to the right hip, to the pubic bone, and then the left hip, left knee, left ankle, Left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, and baby toe. The whole left foot, the whole left leg as it settles and rests into the floor. The left hip, the left pubic bone, the pelvic floor, and the tailbone. The back of the hips, the curve of your lower back, the back of the ribs, the curve of your neck, the back of your head as it rests in the floor or your pillow, and then the top of your head, the forehead, the right temple, the left temple, right eyebrow, left eyebrow, right cheek, left cheek, right ear, left ear, and then the whole head. Can you feel your whole head now? And now the whole body. Feel your whole body rest in the floor. also dive deeper down towards that space of stillness so that you meet yourself in that place of stillness, that place of calm, and that place of quiet. And with your next inhale, can you breathe all the way in and down into that place at the core of you that is always still, always calm, always quiet. And then open up the mouth and take a deep sigh. And take 2 more breaths just like this. We inhale right down into that place deep inside us that is always calm, always quiet. And just let it go. One more deep breath in. And then slowly draw the knees one by one into the chest. Wrap your arms around the legs and give yourself a proper hug. Take any movements you need to help wake up the body. And then slowly roll over to one side. And stay in contact with that place of stillness deep within as you push the hands down into the floor and gently rise to a seated pose. Now if you want to stay in Shavasana, don't let me rush you. But if you have joined me in a seated pose, let's place one